everyone. Welcome to eHave Indonesia 2020 Goes Online. My name is Haris, and I'm going to be moderating this webinar. This webinar is going to be presented by Mr. John from University of Groningen. Please stay tuned until the end of this webinar because we will hold a question and answer session. If you have any question regarding the presentation or country higher education, you can submit your question in YouTube comment section anytime throughout the presentation. Now, without any further ado, please welcome representative from University of Groningen. Time is yours.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much, Harris. I'll just share my screen so that you can see my presentation. So I hope you can see that, okay? So yes, my name is John and I represent the University of Groningen. I'm here with my colleague Ponti. Ponti is based in Jakarta and she'll introduce herself in just a minute. We have a brief presentation for you now just to give you the most important information about our university and about studying in the Netherlands. So firstly, I'll just explain a bit more about where we are and yeah, where we are in the Netherlands and where the Netherlands is in Europe. Of course, I'll go through a bit more detail of what we have to offer. So what generally what the education system is like in the Netherlands, what our university is like, but also particularly what subjects we have to offer. There's also a little bit of information just about the application process, about the costs involved and things like that. I'll give you some other important tips and things to look out for when you come to doing your application. And then of course, there'll be time for you to ask questions. It would be very difficult for us to go into lots and lots of detail about everything we have to offer. But if you have very detailed questions after the webinar and after the Q&A is finished, then we also encourage you to come and visit our virtual room, and we'll be there for the rest of the evening until the end of the event to answer any more direct questions that you have. So where are we, first of all? So I'm sure you've seen the map before, but I think it's always helpful just to kind of visualize where we are in Europe. So firstly, Amsterdam Airport is approximately 12 hours flight from Indonesia. Once you land in Amsterdam, it's only a couple of hours to reach any other part of the country, really. So the main cities are in and around Amsterdam. So that's the main kind of urban part of the Netherlands. We actually are just in the north of the country. So we're the main research university in the northern region of the Netherlands. But to get to our city from Amsterdam, it only takes 2 hours by train. So although it's kind of at the other end of the country, it's we have a very good public transport system, and it's very easy to get around the whole country. So wherever you're studying in the Netherlands, you'll be easily reachable from Amsterdam. But also you can see, I hope from the map here, that although we're not quite in the center of Europe, we are very much at a kind of crossroads. So if you go south, you have Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. If you go eastwards, then you have, well, Germany is very close to our university. It's only about 20 minutes drive to the German border by car. If you go north, then you have Scandinavia, so Denmark and Sweden and other Scandinavian countries. And then if you go west, you have the UK and Ireland. So even, for example, you can actually take a train from Amsterdam to London, which goes under the water. But also from Amsterdam, you can get very easily by train to Paris, Berlin, and other big cities. And of course, it's only 1 or maybe 2 hours flying time from Amsterdam Airport to get to any or many other European capitals. So the Netherlands is a really good place to come and study if you're also looking to explore the rest of Europe. You're really in a good position to be able to see a lot of the rest of Europe if you live in the Netherlands. A bit more about our university. Well, we're one of the oldest universities in the Netherlands, so we're just over 405 years old. We are also one of the largest, so we have more than 36,000 students, and approximately 1/4 of those come from outside the Netherlands, from over 120 different countries. So we're a really international university. Aside from our location in the Netherlands, which kind of sets us apart from other Dutch universities, one of the major differences with our university is that we have a really broad range of different subjects that you can study in English. So more than 150 programs actually, and in terms of bachelor programs, there's more than 35 bachelor degrees that you can study in the English language. So there's a really wide range. They cover lots and lots of different subject areas in 11 different faculties. So some other Dutch universities are relatively specialized, so maybe they only offer studies in 1 or 2 academic areas. We have 11 faculties, so there's a really big range of different options at our university. In terms of rankings, well, Dutch universities are all pretty good, so you know, you can't really go badly wrong by choosing a wrong university. So Dutch universities are all pretty good. But in 2 of the 3 main ranking systems, our university is in the world top 100. But yeah, most universities in the Netherlands are within the top 100 or 200 in the world. In terms of costs, well, the tuition fees vary according to which study you want to do. So they range from approximately 10,000 euros per year up to about 18,500 euros per year, depending on what you want to study. The living costs on top of that, now this varies quite a bit depending on a few different factors, but on average, a good budget would be 11,000 euros per year for your living costs. So that's for your rent and for all of the other costs associated, you know, food and things like that associated with living in the Netherlands. The big thing that will affect your living cost will be your rent, and I'll come to that in a little bit later. We usually have lots of questions about what kind of scholarships we offer. As a university, we don't have a big scholarship program. So there's not really a big main scholarship that you can apply for. Very occasionally, some programs have funding for partial funding, perhaps. And you can use the search tool that I've put up there, the Grant Finder, which can help you find scholarships if you're looking for one. But most of our students would come to study and fund their studies using their own finances, so either with savings or loans or an external scholarship perhaps. So yeah, that's important to bear in mind. Some tips in order to save money. Well, as I mentioned, rent is actually going to be the biggest part of your living expenses, but also the thing that can vary quite dramatically. So I'll come to the accommodation in a bit more detail a little bit later, but the most important thing to know here is that applying early for your accommodation means that you are more likely to find a cheaper room to live in during your studies, and that will have a big effect on your overall costs. So yeah, that's the most important thing to know. But also there's other tips, things like eating out in restaurants. Of course, at the moment in the Netherlands, the restaurants are closed because of the coronavirus, but eating out in restaurants can be quite a lot more expensive than cooking at home for yourself. So most people would cook their own food at home for both lunch and dinner time. So that's another big way of saving money. A bit more about the application process. So if you've seen presentations from other Dutch universities already, perhaps you will already have heard of the Studylink platform. This is a centralized application system. So when you come to doing your application, you have to use this, register on this website first, and then you pick 4 different courses that you would like to do. So that could be 4 courses at the same university, or it could be 4 courses at very different universities. That's completely up to you. But then the second stage of the process is that you then, each course that you apply for, you'll need to complete the application in directly with the university. So in our case, that means that we would give you access to an online application system, which you then use to upload all of your documents and complete the rest of your information through there. So that is the main process, stage 1 in Studylink, and stage 2 directly with the university. Another important thing to know is that some or many of our courses actually are not selective. And well, what do I mean by that? So selective, meaning that, of course, you do need to reach a certain academic standard. Usually that means that we look at your academic background to make sure that you have studied the right subjects in order to be able to start on the course that you're applying for. But in most cases with these courses, you're not competing with other applicants. So you don't need to worry about being better than other people who've applied, because everybody who has the right academic background will get a place on the course. And most of these courses have a deadline, an application deadline of the 1st of May. So yeah, this is the majority of our courses actually. Then you have a smaller minority, so about 20%, which are more selective. And with these courses, this is where you would be competing with other applicants for a more limited number of places on the course. So there's a defined number of places, and you need to be, you need to get one of those places basically. So the way that you do that is having a very good application. So having good grades will help. Having a good motivational statement about why you want to do the course and what kind of student you are, that also helps. But usually with these courses, we have a selection procedure. The deadline for the course is a bit earlier, and that means that, so the 15th of January, and then shortly after that, in the month or two after the deadline, everybody who has applied will go through a selection procedure. So that's kind of like an online assessment, which helps the faculty to decide which students are the best of all of the applicants. So that's a bit more normal how it would work for many universities. Of course, you have to have a really good application in order to get a place. That's not the case with most of our courses. Most of our courses are not selective in that way. So yeah, that's an important thing to know. Okay, the next few slides are an overview of our bachelor programs, but of course, we also have lots of master programs, but we have more than 100 master programs, so I won't list them all. But from each of these bachelor programs, you would have a handful, so maybe 5 or maybe more different options for master programs that you can study afterwards. So you can see we have the Faculty of Arts, with lots of different arts and humanities subjects. And I've also specified which of the bachelor courses are the more selective ones. So you can see in brackets there that the International Relations and International Organization bachelor program is a selective one. Also the Psychology bachelor, that leads on to something like 5 to 10 different master options in very specialized areas in psychology. Then you have the 3 main bachelor programs in our economics and business faculty, and the main or the most popular one there is international business, so that is more selective as well. And these 3 bachelor programs lead on to a big range of about 15 or more master programs in economics and business. Then you have here quite a broad range of different options in the science and engineering faculty, and you can see there that artificial intelligence and computing science are selective bachelor programs. In the science and engineering faculty, there's a really even longer list of master programs. I think there's more than 20 different options in terms of different master courses. All of them are 2-year research-focused master courses. So I'd encourage you to take a look on the website if you're interested in one of those areas. And then here you have a range of other faculties, slightly smaller faculties, so things like theology and religious studies, also spatial sciences, philosophy. These are slightly smaller faculties. Then you have the Faculty of Law up at the top there. The main law program at bachelor level is the International and European Law program. That also leads on to lots and lots of highly specialized master programs in law, I think between something like 8 to 10 different options. And then you have, at the bottom there, you have the university colleges. So these are the bachelor programs which are a little bit more academic, and they offer quite a lot of flexibility and study in a more multidisciplinary way. So yeah, that's an overview of our bachelor courses and an idea of what we have at master level as well. Moving on to entry requirements. So in bachelor level, well, we're looking for either the International Baccalaureate, perhaps you have British A-levels, but also we do accept the Indonesian diploma. And it really depends here on what you want to apply for. Some of the, sorry, my cat is about to jump on the laptop. Some of these, for some bachelor programs, you need to have relevant subjects in your high school, and that's usually understandable. So things like one of our science or engineering programs, they usually require mathematics, but also maybe one of the sciences, but that will be very clear depending on what you're looking to apply for. If you're interested in masters, the main thing here is that you need to have a closely related bachelor degree program in order to apply for a master. Of course, there's also the English language requirement, which is a little bit more simple in terms of you don't need that when you apply, but it's something that you'll need before we can finalize your enrollment. So you can apply around about now, even if you don't have your English test yet. You can take your English much later next year, but it is something that we need eventually. Okay, the next few slides are just a bit more general, just with some pointers. So I already mentioned that it's important to bear in mind that whether your course is selective or not. Non-selective courses, if you're applying for one of those, it means that you don't need to worry so much about things like what kind of soft skills you have, what kind of work experience or extracurricular activities, and all of these kinds of things which might make a difference otherwise. When you're applying to a non-selective course, then they're not so important. Another thing which is very important to know is that although you have quite a long time in which to apply, so the deadline is the 1st of May, that's a little bit deceptive. It's people who apply very close to that deadline usually find that they have quite a lot of difficulties, there are delays in finding out about the result of their application. They also have a difficult time finding accommodation or in getting the finances together and applying for their visa, things like that. So we always recommend, even if you have a deadline of the 1st of May, we recommend applying before approximately the end of January in order to guarantee that the process isn't too stressful and difficult to get through. Another thing that I've already mentioned briefly is the housing. So in general, Dutch universities do not own their own housing that they can offer students. It's something that you need to make a separate application for. And in a student city like ours, it can be difficult to find accommodation, especially if you've come to applying quite late. So it's important to bear that in mind, also because it will save you some money as well. How is it different to studying elsewhere? So perhaps all of you are looking at studying in other European countries, or perhaps Australia or the USA. Well, one thing to note, I think many students would say that it's relatively intense. It's a perfectly normal aspect of studying in the Netherlands to fail classes. If you're a bachelor student, though, you have to pass at least 3/4 of your first year in order to be able to continue. So that's an important thing to know. Also, we have very regular assessment periods at 4 different points throughout the year. But that's coupled with very attentive lecturers and teachers who care about your success. So it's relatively difficult and intensive, but you also get a lot of support as well. So there's extra classes if needed. If you need to do any extra classes, you can go to those. There's study skills help from the Student Services Center to help with other aspects of other difficulties associated with studying. Also, a big difference, I think, if you're coming from the Indonesian system, is that there's a lot of emphasis on participation in class. So you can't just be sat back at the back of the classroom listening. You also have to contribute to the class as well. That's, I think, a big difference, especially for an Indonesian student. And finally, of course, a big difference to studying in the Netherlands compared to other countries is the Netherlands itself. It's a very unique country. Things like bicycles, windmills, tulips, and that kind of thing. Getting around by bicycle is a really nice part of daily life here. Also, living in a smaller city. So there's very, very big cities in Indonesia, but even Amsterdam, the biggest city in the Netherlands, is only less than 1 million people. So that makes life very interesting. And also, of course, the Dutch language. If you want to learn the Dutch language, then this is the only place you can do that. Okay, I think we're coming towards the end, and I want to allow my colleague Ponti to say a few words as well. But just to give you a bit of an overview of our university and where the faculties are based, you can see the faculties at the bottom of the screen there, which are based in the city centre. That's the heart of the old city of the university. Then the medical sciences faculty is in one of the big hospitals of the city. And then just at the top there, you can see just the edge of the Zernike campus. This is on the edge of the city center. It's about, it looks like it's far away, but it's only 10 minutes cycling or 10 minutes on the bus. And that's where the faculties of economics and business, science and engineering and spatial science are based, with slightly more modern facilities. Then we have another faculty called Campus Fryslan, which is in a different city. And that's a relatively short walk from Leeuwarden's train station. So Leeuwarden's about 30 minutes away approximately from Groningen. And yeah, that's the 11th faculty of the university. Okay, so quickly with housing, you can see there that the main message is that the cost can vary quite a lot. So it can actually, if you're a lot later with your housing application, you could find yourself paying more than double what the cheapest rooms cost. So it's very important to be aware of applying for student housing as soon as you can. On student associations, I just wanted to mention that PPI Groningen, so that's the Indonesian Student Association in Groningen. It's one of the biggest in Europe. So we have lots and lots of Indonesian students studying with us. Of course, you'll meet people from all over the world, but you also have a big community of Indonesian students in the city as well. So yeah. Finally, I just wanted to leave you with some contact details. Of course, you can find us on Instagram, and that's a great way of getting a good impression of our city and what studying really looks like. But you can also email us. And then importantly, I wanted to allow my colleague Ponti, who is from the GROW office in Jakarta, to also say a few words as well. Ponti?
Okay, thank you very much, John. Yeah, I will continue my presentation in Bahasa Indonesia, in Indonesian language. Yeah. Okay. Before I would like to share slides here. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Can you see the slide? Yes.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. Welcome. Selamat datang. Selamat sore. Nama saya Ponti Caroline, saya dari kantor GROW. GROW itu adalah official representatif atau perwakilan resmi buat University of Groningen di Indonesia. Kantor kami sudah berdiri sejak tahun 2008. Jadi kami telah berdiri selama 12 tahun. So we have about like 12 years experience in recruiting students to study in Netherlands, particularly in Groningen. Ya, dan kantor kami secara resmi terdaftar pada Nuvik Neso atau yang di bawah Kedutaan Belanda Dutch Embassy in Jakarta. Oke, itu bila dilihat di slide adalah foto saat pre-departure briefing. Yeah, that picture with a lot of students was taken, of course, before the pandemic era. It was during our pre-departure briefing. Yeah, when that time when everybody can just stand close to each other, ya. So, but it is impossible right now. Oke, itu sekilas tentang kantor Grow. Kemudian, apakah function dan role-nya dari kantor Grow? Tentu saja kami sebagai pusat informasi mengenai studi di Belanda, khususnya studi di Groningen. Dan kami juga menyediakan fasilitas untuk konsultasi, konseling secara gratis, ya free of charge. Kemudian juga kami juga membantu untuk pendaftaran, registration assistance, dan juga kami dapat membantu follow up application student, application kalian ke university. Jadi bila student telah mendaftar dan aplikasinya mungkin tertunda atau belum ada jawaban, silakan kontak kantor kami untuk kita bantu untuk follow up ke university. Kemudian kita juga secara teratur mengadakan pre-departure briefing, dan kantor kita juga punya service lainnya, yaitu sebagai terjemahan dokumen dan juga legalisasi dokumen, yang mana sebagai salah satu persyaratan dokumen untuk mendaftar ke University of Groningen. Dan kantor kita juga mengadakan IELTS preparation course bagi mereka yang membutuhkan, yang skor IELTS-nya mungkin belum memadai atau belum mencapai minimum skor. Ya, kemudian dari akhirnya juga kita akan membentuk suatu departure arrangement buat keberangkatan bersama. Jadi bila teman-teman atau students di sini terhubung dengan kantor kita, itu semuanya dari awal akan kita bantu, ya, dari informasi awal mengenai info secara umum, kemudian pendaftaran, follow up ke university, sampai keberangkatan, sampai departure. Jadi kira-kira seperti itu. Dan itu adalah gambar atau foto kegiatan kantor kita sehari-hari, ya. Jadi pada saat tentunya juga sebelum pandemi, kita tiap harinya menerima tamu untuk konsultasi seperti demikian. Oke. So this is a nice picture. The slide consists of nice pictures. This is the University of Groningen in Indonesia. Okay, these pictures was taken during IHEF last year. Ya, jadi University of Groningen delegates juga secara rutin datang ke Indonesia, terdiri dari beberapa fakultas, perwakilan tiap-tiap fakultas, dan kita mengadakan fair besar. Itu contohnya fair IHEF kita tahun lalu. And if you can see, there is also my colleague there, John, wearing a nice, beautiful batik shirt, yeah, and meeting our Indonesian students during our IHEF fair last year. It was very big fair, of course, yeah, but today, yeah, we do online because of the pandemic, of course. So, University of Groningen regularly coming to Indonesia. So, nice pictures. Dan ini, it is also nice pictures, the pictures about Indonesian students in Groningen. Ya, jadi bisa dilihat, ya, bagaimana live activities of Indonesian students in Groningen. Jadi ini foto-foto juga diberikan oleh student kami yang sedang studi di sana. Kalau kita lihat di sebelah kiri itu ada diambil saat biasanya itu King's Day, ya. Itu di mana semua orang memakai kostum serba orange, ya, serba oranye. Jadi itu sangat menarik. Dan di bawah adalah di tengah kota, di city center Groningen, itu adalah Indonesian student yang diambil saat musim winter sepertinya, karena memakai baju yang sangat tebal, ya. Dan di atas kalau dilihat sebelah kanan, itu foto tarian dari Indonesian traditional dance. So in Groningen, Indonesian students in PPI, John mentioned about PPI, that's the Association of Indonesian Students, regularly hold event like Indonesian Night or Indonesian Dinner. And during the event, they perform like Indonesian traditional dance. It is very beautiful dance and very nice activities. So even though you're far in Groningen, but you can still have like Indonesian vibes there in Groningen. Jadi sangat menarik ya. Itu salah satu kegiatannya. Jadi kalau kalian punya hobi, kalian bisa masih bergabung di organisasi di PPI dengan teman-teman lainnya. Dan foto yang di bawah itu juga salah satu Indonesian student saat itu mungkin memenangkan prize ya bersama international student lainnya. Jadi inilah kira-kira gambaran bagaimana Indonesian students di Groningen. Jadi jangan khawatir teman-teman, buat yang mau dan berminat untuk melanjutkan studi ke Groningen, jangan takut, sudah banyak teman-temannya di sana. Ya, so we welcome you to come to Groningen to study. Oke, ya bila ada pertanyaan lebih lanjut, tentu saja kalian bisa dengan mudah menghubungi kantor kita di Jakarta. Ya, kantor kita ini adalah Growth Representative Office untuk informasi dan untuk pendaftaran. Lokasinya di Senayan, di pusat kota Jakarta. Ada alamatnya, ada nomor telepon juga dan email address. Dan juga jangan lupa follow our social media. We have Instagram and fan page Facebook. Oke. Ya, sepertinya infonya cukup sekian. Jadi untuk info lebih lanjut silahkan hubungi kami. So feel free to contact us if you still have any question. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope this information is useful for you. Oke, terima kasih. Saya rasa saya kembalikan sesi ini kepada moderator. Oke, saya stop sharing. So I'll bring back this session to the moderator. Okay, I think that's so far my presentation, our presentation. Yes.
Are there any questions for us?
Thank you very much, John and Bu Ponti, for your presentation. It's very interesting and also intriguing our future international students to get know more about the University of Groningen. Yes, there are several questions that we would like to ask to both of you. The first question is regarding a double degree program. Do you provide any double degree programs in University of Groningen?
Okay, John, you would like to answer this question, John?
Yeah, so there's lots of different types of double degrees. Firstly, there's the option of starting a degree at our university. For example, a double degree master, you can do 1 year of study with us. And then there's lots of other universities elsewhere in Europe where you can then do a second year. And at the end of the process, you would get 2 master degrees in 2 years. But also, I suspect maybe the question is about double degrees from Indonesian universities. And I think, Ponti, you're involved with that somewhat as well. Yeah. Did you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so far the double degree program we have between the Indonesian universities and University of Groningen is under the Faculty of Economics and Business. I think so far that's the only double degree program we have now. And the double degree program is for the bachelor degree as well as for the master degree. So the scheme is like 2+2 for the bachelor degree, or 1+1 for the master degree. So if you study at this moment at the University of Indonesia, as for example, because we have University of Groningen has 3 partners for the double degree program under FAB, Faculty of Economic and Business, which is University of Indonesia, and then University of Gadjah Mada in Yogyakarta, and Institut Teknologi Bandung in Bandung. So we have the double degree for bachelor program under FAB, Faculty of Economic and Business. And the scheme is the student have to obtain until 4th semester in the origin university in Indonesia, and then continue to the 5th semester in Groningen. And it can be 1.5 years or 2 years in Groningen for bachelors. It depends on how many credits that you have obtained. And then for master degree, double degree for master is also under FAB, Faculty of Economic and Business. And you have to study 1 year in FAB UI, and then continue the second year to University of Groningen FAB. That's the scheme of double degree. And about the registration, I think it's similar like other registration. And because it is the program is under the institution, so if you want to follow the double degree with us, you have to study first in the institution in Indonesia. You have to first enroll to one of the UG partner in Indonesia to continue to the double degree.
There are chances for Indonesian students to get double degree. First, maybe they can attend some faculties or universities that Ponte has mentioned, or maybe they can start it directly at the University of Groningen and get the first degree at the University of Groningen and another degree in a different university. But I assume it's also located in Europe, right, John?
Yeah, there's options in Europe to do that, but there's also options in other countries. So when you look at our overview, it's mainly master's programs, which are double degrees. And when you look on the website of whichever faculty you're interested in, there's usually, for example, in the economics and business faculty, you can do your first year in Groningen, and then there's lots of options in Europe. There's options in China, and in lots of other parts of the world. So yeah, in Europe, but also elsewhere also.
Thank you very much for explanations. For next questions, have a plan to study master degree of health and safety as the major. Do you know what are the subjects in the majors?
Yeah, so when we have quite a lot of different programs, so we have more than 150. So I'm not from one of the faculties, so I don't have very detailed knowledge myself of everything, but there is an easy way that you can check. So when you go onto the website, there's a summary of the content of each program, but also there is, you can go into lots and lots of details. So you can click on the course catalog, and then you can see all of the classes that are involved. So you can see absolutely everything that you would study. You can even look into more detail about which books would be, which books you'd need to be reading, the kind of exams you would need to do, which professors teach on which classes. So if you really want to have a look at in detail at what you're studying, then that's very possible. Yeah.
The best option right now is to look for directly on the website.
Yeah, and if you have trouble, sometimes our website is a bit of a maze because it's very big.
They can just go directly to the virtual fair. Right now we are doing the virtual fair, so maybe the webinar participant, if you still have questions, further questions regarding how to attend university, about scholarship and etc., maybe you can just simply go to event.ehaf.id.
That's right. Yeah, and we'll be happy to pinpoint where you need to go. Yeah,
absolutely, of course. Okay, we move on to next questions. Probably the last questions regarding scholarship. Is it possible to get both scholarship, one from the university if it is available, and also from government or private organizations? On the other hand, so is it combinable scholarship in the Groningen?
Well, as a university, we don't really have any significant scholarships, really. There's some programs and faculties which might have small scholarships, but almost all of our programs don't have that, actually. So, and it's very difficult to say if there would be, with any particular scholarships, if they would be combinable. Most of our students, almost all of our students, actually, don't get a scholarship, so they need to come with their own finances or savings or whatever. So but if you're taking one of the Indonesian government scholarships, then there's usually an overview of whether it's combinable with anything else. I think usually they're full scholarships though, so there's not really any need for any extra top up of the scholarship.
Yeah, but it is
Yeah.
possible for Indonesian students to get scholarship from our government and then the University of Groningen, right?
In
It's
principle,
possible,
it might be possible. Yeah.
yeah. From Indonesian government, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, I think is it still possible to get the scholarship from the Indonesian government? For example, from the LPDP that organized by the Ministry of Finance, Indonesian Ministry of Finance. But I think we have to check what subject or what area of focus that are covered, because not every subject or every area that is covered by the scholarship provider, I guess.
Okay, very well. Thank you very much, Bu Ponti and Mr. John, for your explanation and also for your presentations. To all webinar participants, you can go directly to event.ehf.id if you still have further questions to the University of Groningen. To Bu Ponti and Mr. John, thank you. Please stay safe and take care. And thank you for your presentation this afternoon. See you
You're
again
welcome.
soon. Bye
Thank you
bye.
very much.
Makasih.
Bye-bye.
Sampai ketemu. Bye. Oke. Okay.